Okay, gonna do a quick update. So I've decided to paint the car myself, and I've also decided to remove pretty much everything. Headlights, grill. I really don't want to mask too much stuff off, if at all possible. So that's kind of the direction I'm going. Plus, that way it's gonna end up being a nicer finish all around. I've also decided to shave off the door handles and remove the heavy trim, so just as a comparison, on this town car you've got obviously the door handles and you've got this keypad. On these cars all this hardware is pure stainless steel and it really doesn't want to come out very easily, especially this piece here that was rather difficult. And then you've got the heavy trim on the side, which I've removed. And underneath that trim is a pretty big hole from the factory that has a rubber plug in it. That's kind of a large gap to fill. I'm using almost entirely epoxy. On this side I did epoxy, then fiberglass, and then I went through and filled in some of the little smaller holes with epoxy again. I like the epoxy a lot better than the fiberglass myself. It's a lot stronger. It takes a while for it to cure, but I mean it's easy to sand, and it just it's a lot easier to work with than like the Bondo or the fiberglass filler, because it doesn't harden so quick. You've got a lot of time to work with it. I thought about shaving this fuel door, but it's a lot of work to relocate that filler nozzle. This vinyl top's going to come off. It's going to get painted underneath. And then when I put this vinyl back on, it's actually going to be glued into place, so there's not going to be any more of these screws. I decided to cut this down all the way down to the mirror. By the way, getting these grills out, it's kind of a challenge, and these headlights were really, really difficult. They have some very unusual clips holding them back. Here's one of them. I ended up having to destroy all of them to get them out, but they're very, very strange clips. This is just what's left over. Let me see if I have... Yeah, okay. So this is what the clips actually look like behind the headlights. So they kind of slide into place like so, but they also have these little tabs that grip to the side, and I don't know what kind of tool you use to get this out, but that's a disaster. What I'm doing when I put it back in, I'm just going to take some flat pieces of sheet metal and kind of wedge them in there, and that's going to be good enough. That way I can take them out. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the headlights yet. I have pretty nice lights on this one. I may end up taking some of these lights off of this and swapping it out, since this one's going to be for sale pretty soon. I'm really done with the lowrider. It's a fun car for about 5 minutes, but it rides really, really rough. So I'm kind of over it. Anyway, yeah, hopefully it'll end up real nice. I think with the trim gone. Oh, also there's these little holes from the factory too. They're like dimples. They're not really holes, but there's a lot of sanding to be done here. I mean, this really was a lot more work than I had anticipated. Making a patch panel, and I didn't really have confidence in welding it in. And to make a panel, so if you look at this door handle here, to make a door handle patch panel that, I mean, look at how long that is. I mean, that's like a foot long. It's a very odd shape. So you've got this kind of square with the rounded off edges, and it would be very, very difficult to make a perfect patch panel and weld that in, especially considering, material can warp. So what I found is that the epoxy is a lot more forgiving. It's a lot easier to use, and you can make a panel that is close to the final shape and then just end up filling it in. And I really think that was the right way to go. You would have to have a lot of skill to be able to do this with sheet metal and welding it in, and a lot of time, considering that there's obviously 4 handles to do. But so I'm just kind of sanding it down right now. I'm going to use a Evercoat brand body filler for the final kind of last coat. And yeah, so that's the progress.